kind of follows what you'd expect. Interesting.
Looking at the camera. As always, the first bit.
How's the training going?
Not too bad, not too bad. Just looking more into cutting the fat.
Yeah?
Lowering body weight, yeah, for my category.
What category are you going in?
73.
Oh,
73 weightlifting.
And that's the Olympic?
Yeah.
Nice. In terms of weight?
Not too far off, but I've still got a bit to go.
Right.
The only thing I'm not sure about my scales. I'm not sure if they're reliable.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, so the gym ones and the home ones are slightly different, so I'm not sure what to rely on. And again, body fat is different on both as well.
Oh, okay. So you're kind of going through a weight cut, but you've different scales giving you different readings.
Yeah, I don't know what to trust. I don't know if I should be cutting still, or when I turn up I'll be overweight. Do you know what I mean?
How about let's have a look at comparing your scales with the lab scales that are attached to the BodPod. And whilst we're at it, in the labs we might as well, let's have a look at Skinfold calipers.
Do you reckon that's reliable?
Yeah. Me, yes. If they're in the hands of a practitioner who's experienced.
Yeah, because I never use them. I kind of go towards scales most of the time, so be interested.
Techie fan. For me, in industry, I think calipers, if the client's happy to be pinched and poked and prodded and marked up and so forth. Yeah, I'm just thinking that could be quite an interesting experiment. But also to support you, cutting weight so you know that you're on point and it doesn't impact performance negatively in any way. Yeah.
I think I should give it a go. Compare if my scales are reliable against the BodPod and the BodPod scales. Yeah. And then see if the body caliper works as well.
Sure. Then that sounds like a great idea. And I think we can also use the BodPod as the benchmark. Bear in mind, what some of the research suggests, and also because we've got it down in the labs, that'd be interesting. And help your training with your few weeks left in your build up to the comp. Sounds good.
I think we should give it a go.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Marcus, how are we going to set this comparison?
Okay, so let's go BodPod first, purely because it's kind of one of the gold standards, obviously along with the DEXA and the hydrostatic weighing method. So BodPod first.
Okay, BodPod first. So the second we're going to go BIA scales. Absolutely. So the ones use at home, simple to use, easy to get. Compare with that.
Bioelectrical impedance analysis.
Yep.
I think then we'll follow on with the calipers, and historically they've been used quite extensively within the industry, and we'll see how those results come out. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds great. Just go and do it.
BodPod, BIA, Skinfold calipers.
Easy. Let's go. We've got results for our Skinfold, BIA, and a BodPod. Yeah, so what's the whole point of using a BodPod and why are we using it? Again, compared to DEXA, it's quite a reliable measure, as we found in this paper. It's not the same gender as obviously males in this one compared to females.
So we have 47.
47 are quite a few. When you compare it against a DEXA, quite a reliable measure. So we decided to go with that. It's an easy one to measure. Test, retest is easy as well. It's not compared to a DEXA, which you can do 3-4 times a year.
So this is our benchmark, BodPod. 11.8% body fat, 75.246 kilograms in body weight as well.
Yeah, so the BodPod comes with their own scales. They have to calibrate every time you use it as well.
Skinfold. I'll get this right in a minute. By comparison, 12.9%, and obviously weight, it doesn't present us with any of that information. But the difference, 1.1%. So marginal.
Not too bad, yeah.
Interesting when you think about the expense between those two bits of kit. And I know the Harpendons are the gold standard calipers anyway, so we've opted for the better calipers, but equally there are those that are available that are really cheap, plastic versions. BIA. So the scales, and that's the version that we actually used, 14%. So we now start to see a slightly larger difference when comparing 2.2%.
That's really interesting in a way, because if you compare the scales to a Skinfold, you'll be thinking, oh, that's only 1.1% difference. But actually, compared to a gold standard, that's quite significant.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, what else was interesting, BodPod, 75.24 kilos, 77 with the BIA. And bearing in mind you were using these home scales
to track my weight, yeah.
In prep for your Olympic lifting competition, there's the difference, and you were competing in a weight category. There is an impact.
Sure.
You know, you may turn up if you're thinking you're 77 kilos and you're competing in a weight category that's slightly above. Fluid restriction, weight loss. Could that in itself affect or have an impact on your performance? Another interesting study. Again, in this one though, as we kind of suggested, DEXA being the gold standard, expensive to use, accessible normally only within hospitals or other specialist units. But these are the main differences, which I thought was really interesting. So hydrostatic weighing, 1%, Skinfold, 1.4%, 0.4% difference. Expense, the difference in expense between those two, substantial. 1.6. What was interesting for me though, the different manufacturers of the BIA, look at the variation there, 1.6 up to 4.9.
And especially when you think about ours with like Amazon scales, 30, 40 quid, whereas I'm pretty sure these guys are a little bit more expensive than ours. So I'm thinking, if you compare, even that BodPod itself had a difference from DEXA. So imagine where we would be with our scales compared to DEXA itself. So
what leaps off the page here, 1.4, 1.6, 0.2% difference. The difference in cost is substantial difference. Good old Jeff, Athlete X, and this was kind of one of the driving forces behind what we did, I know. And he did look at, as he's kind of highlighted there, the BodPod versus the DEXA scan. There are some statistics, the metrics, they're slightly different from the research. I don't think it matters hugely. As we've kind of alluded to, Skinfold calipers, the difference between that and the BodPod or the plethysmography is so marginal. Maybe well versed just to stick with the calipers.
But yeah, I think again, if you go back to Skinfold, so much easier, so much quicker, and as we've seen, it's more reliable than scale.
I also think it's important to highlight that a direct assessment of body composition, indirect, as is the caliper and the BIA units as well. But I also think important to highlight that the metrics he's been looking at, or the case study that he's particularly been looking at, is an athlete, elite level. I know he presents some of the NFL combine data, etc. So at that level, it may have a difference. We talk about marginal gains and all those kind of things. But I think it's important to bear that in mind. But nonetheless, some good information.
All right, so what do you think of the results?
Exactly as I anticipated. BodPod, calipers, weighing scales, or the BIA scales. Historically, calipers was always my go-to. We even had Harpenden calipers within the facilities, the old Fitness First health clubs, and assuming that clients were happy to be pinched, that's what I thought would be the case.
Yeah, I was really disappointed. I was really hoping for the scales, honestly, because I've been using them for a while and expected, the whole technology working better, but proved me wrong.
So practical application, what do you think the trainers of this modern day and age should consider? Again,
so when I'm thinking about the scales, any gym that you go to, any commercial gym, you've got all the scales, jump on, hold on to these handles, tells you all the body fat, your age and all that. So if you're a trainer, if you want to go next level up, if you want to go further, go with the calipers. Even though scales are easier to use, but if you want correct answers, more reliable answers, go with Skinfold.
Absolutely. And assuming that the clients are happy to be pinched.
Absolutely, yeah.
Practical application.